My friend, somewhere right now, someone is praying for you by name. You may not see them. You may not even know who they are. But heaven does. Angels have carried your name before the throne of God, and today I want to tell you why someone's heart has been set on you. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by divine purpose. You've wondered why love hasn't worked out before. You've asked God why people left, why promises were broken, why it seemed like love always slipped through your fingers. But heaven has been silent, not because God forgot you, but because he was preparing the one who would see you as God sees you. Angels have whispered your story in heaven's courts, and now heaven is revealing something powerful. God has shown them why this person is so. 2:51 p.m., October 20th, 2025. Hasibu, my dear friend, love is not bound by years, nor limited by human understanding. When God writes a love story, he does not look at age, background, or circumstance. He looks at the heart. And sometimes he does something that confuses even the wisest among us. He sends a younger soul into your life to love you beyond the borders of time. You see, heaven doesn't measure love the way the world does. The world looks at appearances, at logic, at what seems appropriate. But God looks at purpose. He looks at destiny. He looks at how one soul can awaken another, how one person can remind another of who they were created to be. So when the angels whisper that God has sent a younger soul to love you, they are not talking about mere romance. They are talking about restoration, about divine timing, and about the eternal power of love that transcends years. This isn't about what looks right in the eyes of people. It's about what feels right in the presence of God. When God writes a love story, he does not measure it by the number of candles on a birthday cake, but by the divine purpose hidden within two souls. The world has always been quick to judge what it cannot understand. People see differences in age, background, or circumstance and rush to label them as mistakes. Yet heaven sees something entirely different. Heaven sees the invisible threads that connect two souls, woven by divine intention, long before either one took their first breath. When God sends a younger soul to love you, it is never to challenge your past, but to fulfill what was left unfinished. It is not about youth or appearance. It is about purpose, timing, and divine alignment. God often chooses the unexpected to reveal his greatest plans. In the Bible, he used shepherd boys to defeat giants, barren women to give birth to nations, and fishermen to carry his message to the world. So why should it surprise us that he can use a younger soul to bring love, renewal, and spiritual awakening into your life? When heaven intervenes, it doesn't follow human logic. It follows divine reasoning that always serves a higher calling. This younger soul is not sent because you need to relive the past, but because you are ready to step into a new spiritual chapter that requires fresh energy, pure intention, and unshakable faith. Often, we pray for love and companionship, asking God to send someone who understands us, someone who mirrors our heart. Yet when that prayer is answered in an unexpected form, we hesitate. We question God's wisdom. We say, "Lord, are you sure?" Forgetting that his thoughts are higher than ours and his ways beyond comprehension. The person he sends may not fit the description you imagine, but they fit the destiny he designed. God knows the kind of love that can carry you through life's storms, the kind that restores joy where pain once lived. Sometimes that love comes wrapped in youth, vitality, and a spirit that reflects the innocence you thought you had lost. A younger soul may carry something your spirit once had, but has since been buried under years of disappointment and waiting. Their faith reignites yours. Their laughter heals the quiet parts of your heart. Their courage reminds you of the boldness you once walked in before life's burdens dimmed your light. Through their love, God shows you that your story isn't finished, that there are still chapters of joy and discovery waiting to be written. This kind of connection isn't meant to draw attention to the difference in age, but to the difference in purpose. God sees beyond the surface and joins two hearts because of what they bring out in each other spiritually. When divine love arrives, it often comes to refine, not just to romance. It awakens spiritual gifts that have been dormant. It realigns your focus from the temporary to the eternal. It reminds you that you are still chosen, still capable of being loved deeply, and still an important part of God's unfolding plan. The world may whisper its doubts, but heaven shouts a truth louder than judgment. God's timing is perfect, and his pairings are purposeful. The younger soul sent to you is not a coincidence. It is a confirmation that heaven has heard your prayers and chosen to answer them in a way that reflects his glory, not your expectations. This connection is a holy reminder that love is ageless in the eyes of God. It transcends boundaries, opinions, and human timelines. What matters is that both souls recognize the divine hand guiding their hearts together. Every smile, every moment, every silent understanding between you is proof that God's design cannot be confined by human reasoning. For when he brings two hearts into harmony, he does so not to fit societal standards, but to fulfill divine destiny. When God sends a younger soul into your life, it is heaven's gentle way of reminding you that you are still seen, still chosen, and still worthy of love that uplifts rather than drains. Many people believe their time for love has passed, that their chance for companionship or emotional renewal is behind them. But God's clock does not tick like ours. He does not mark your seasons by the wrinkles on your face or the gray in your hair, but by the readiness of your heart. Sometimes when you think your story is ending, heaven begins a new chapter written in the ink of grace and sealed with divine purpose. A younger soul does not arrive to make you feel old, but to make you feel alive again. They come carrying the freshness of faith and a spark of divine energy that reignites what time and trials may have dimmed. Their love is not a reminder of what you've lost, but a revelation of what God can still restore. Heaven uses their youthful spirit to whisper to your heart, you still have purpose, you still have beauty, you still have something to give. This connection becomes proof that God never forgets those who keep believing, even through seasons of silence and waiting. You may have endured heartache, betrayal, or loss. You may have convinced yourself that love was no longer meant for you. But God delights in proving the impossible possible. When the younger soul appears, it is not merely romance knocking at your door. It is resurrection. It is life returning to a place that once felt empty. It is the fulfillment of a promise that God still has blessings with your name on them. Sometimes heaven answers the prayer you stopped praying because you lost hope in the waiting. And when the answer comes, it often arrives in a form that challenges your understanding but restores your faith. This person is not sent to complete you, because only God can do that. They are sent to complement you, to walk beside you in the next stage of your journey. Through their laughter, you rediscover joy. Through their hope, you rediscover possibility. Through their eyes, you begin to see yourself the way God always has. Valuable, radiant, deserving of love that honors your soul. They remind you that it's not too late to dream again, to feel again, to build again. Heaven uses their youthful confidence to stir something powerful within you, the courage to believe again. When you are loved by a younger soul, it's not a coincidence, but a calling. It's heaven saying, I'm not finished with you yet. God uses this connection to lift you out of the shadows of the past and into the light of a new beginning. You may find yourself smiling more, praying differently, or feeling a deeper gratitude for life. That's because love, when sent by God, always revives the spirit. It brings renewal, not confusion, peace, not chaos, and though others may not understand it, you will know it's divine by the calm assurance in your heart that this was meant to be. The younger soul often brings with them the very traits you once prayed for but didn't know how to describe. Their energy stirs your purpose, their optimism challenges your doubts, and their faith strengthens your own. God places them in your path so that both lives can grow. Yours in renewed wisdom, theirs in divine guidance. Together, you become an example that love doesn't retire, that hope doesn't expire, and that destiny cannot be limited by human timelines. So when this love enters your life, don't question it out of fear. Receive it with gratitude, Let it remind you that heaven's favor still rests upon you. Every smile, every word, every shared prayer is a sign that God has chosen to refresh your heart. You are not too late, too old, or too forgotten. The arrival of this younger soul is heaven's beautiful reminder that you are still part of God's living promise, that the best parts of your story are not behind you, but waiting just ahead, written by the hand of the one who never forgets his children. Sometimes, when God sends a younger soul into your life, it's not simply to spark romance, but to begin a healing process that goes deeper than words can describe. You may not even realize how many unhealed places you carry within you until love arrives in a form that sees beyond your scars. The younger soul often carries a light, a certain purity of heart that reflects what has been buried beneath years of disappointment and pain. Their presence has a way of softening the hardness that life has built, reminding you that love, in its purest form, is meant to heal, not to harm. When this person enters your world, it's as though heaven has decided that the time has come for your soul to breathe again. This connection is not an accident. It is a divine prescription for your spirit. God knows when your heart has grown tired, when your faith has been tested, when your laughter has been silenced by long seasons of sorrow. And just when you start to think that joy no longer belongs to you, He sends someone whose presence becomes medicine for your soul. The younger soul doesn't need to understand every detail of your past. They simply love you through it. Their compassion doesn't analyze your pain, it comforts it. Their smile doesn't erase your history, it redeems it. God uses them as a vessel to reach places within you that sermons couldn't touch and prayers couldn't seem to reach. They listen differently. They care differently. Their innocence reminds you of who you used to be before the world hardened your heart. And through their love, God whispers to your soul that it's safe to trust again, safe to hope again, safe to open the door that pain tried to keep shut. Healing doesn't always come through miracles that shake the earth. Sometimes it comes through one person who looks at you and sees the good that never died inside you. You begin to notice how their joy rekindles your laughter, how their faith begins to challenge your doubts, how their excitement for life stirs something in you that had fallen asleep. These are not small coincidences. They are divine signs that healing is taking place. The younger soul carries with them a spiritual freshness, a holy energy that God uses to cleanse the heaviness of the past. In their presence, you start to believe again, not just in love, but in yourself, in God's timing, and in the beauty of starting over. But this love is not one-sided. Healing flows both ways. While you find strength and renewal through their light, they find guidance and depth through your wisdom. God creates balance in such relationships. Your maturity stabilizes their passion, while their youth reignites your purpose. It's a divine exchange where both hearts grow, both spirits evolve, both lives are lifted. That's what true God-ordained love does. It transforms two people into better versions of themselves, not by demanding perfection, but by inspiring restoration. Through this connection, you begin to realize that love isn't meant to erase your past, it's meant to redeem it. Every tear, every heartbreak, every delay begins to make sense because now you can see how God was preparing your heart for this kind of love. The younger soul was never sent to replace what you lost. They were sent to remind you that nothing truly good is ever lost in God's plan. What was broken can be rebuilt, what was wounded can be restored, and what was forgotten can live again through grace. When heaven sends love for healing, it comes quietly. It doesn't demand attention or create confusion. It brings peace. It steadies your emotions. It anchors your spirit in the assurance that God still writes beautiful endings after painful beginnings. You may find yourself praying more, forgiving faster, and smiling without reason. That's the fruit of divine healing, the sign that your heart is no longer surviving but living again. So when this younger soul enters your life, don't see it as a coincidence or a distraction. See it as an answer. God heard your silent cries, saw your lonely nights, and decided to heal you in the way you'd least expect, through love that reflects his heart. This connection is not about age or appearance, it's about grace. And through that grace, God shows you that love, when it comes from him, is not just about companionship, it's about redemption, restoration, and the miraculous power to make all things new again. When two souls are destined by heaven to meet, there is an instant recognition